and getting some lighting and some camera work in there as well. We have a very brief scene that we're going to basically recreate within the next 45 minutes here. And then I'm going to get to the Q&A after that live demo. Okay, so as always, we have a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, please put your questions in the Q&A panel there from Zoom. And we'll get to those questions after I'm finished the live demo. We are always, as always, recording this it's also being broadcast live on YouTube. I'm not going to be answering questions from YouTube, just be aware, but we are broadcasting this live there as well. And as always, we will send out a survey at the end of this webinar. So if you have any comments, any questions, any future suggestions, or any suggestions rather for future webinar topics that you'd like to cover, please fill out that survey for us and we'll give you a 10% discount coupon for the content store. All right, let's get right into it. First of all, we have this weekly special, which I believe is in the chat window. I may be linking a few things in the chat window a little bit later on, but there is a promo. This is a really good promo. You can see the price down from $99 to $5. These are a couple of motions that are good for couples, like friendship and romance and all that stuff. So it's a fairly old content pack, but the motions are still really good in this content. Highly recommended if you don't have it. Endearment Volume 1, Family and Friends. So go check out the weekly special in the content store. All right, I think not much else to cover except for the outline here. So like I mentioned, we're going to be kind of going through the workflow. We're going to start with basic scene construction. We're going to go to some character dialogue and animation, and some character animation, some more complicated character animation, a little bit more than you might be used to. And then we're also going to talk about lighting and camera work. I don't think there's really much more to go into. I'm going to try and get through this live demo quickly here so we can get to the Q&A. So let's get started. All right. This is a scene that we're going to recreate. So let me make our lights invisible here. I'm going to play this back and you'll see a really quick and cheesy scene, as all my scenes are pretty cheesy. But here we go.
Get me out of here. We know you have the money, Lebowski, and you're going to tell us one way or the other.
I already told you I don't know where the money is. Just let me go.
Okay, so some guy, corrupt cop, and some gangster tied up in cuffs and so on and so forth. All right, so we're going to basically recreate the scene from scratch. And the way we're going to start is we're going to create a new project here. I'm going to press Control G. Control G toggles your grid on and off, just so you're aware. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to basically recreate that room that we had in that scene. So I'm going to go over to the Content tab here, and under your Props section here, we have a whole bunch of stuff. Now, if you have the, if we go down here to Floor and Wall, if you have the Light Studio Content Pack, there's a number of different floor presets that are already set up here for you. Pretty useful stuff. You can just double click on this floor concrete, for example, and it gives us a big, huge concrete floor. I'll just press Control G to turn the grid off now. So this is going to be like we could use this if we had the Light Studio, but I'm going to show you how to create it from scratch in case you don't have this content pack. There's also walls in Light Studio as well, so you can just throw in this wall really quickly there as well. So it's all pre-built. And you can see you can construct stuff pretty fast from that. And this is for a larger scene. So you can see the floor and the wall and everything is fairly large. There's also other types of walls as well, but I'm not going to go into that right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the embedded stuff. Okay, that's included free with iClone. So we'll twirl those up. And down near the bottom, we have a 3D blocks section here, 3D blocks folder rather. And in 3D blocks, there is a wall and floor subfolder. And this is some stuff that's included with iClone. And I'm just going to go ahead and click and drag my floor here. So you can see it's a little smaller than the other one. Okay, but that's fine. We'll go ahead and work with that. I'll press the W hotkey, W hotkey to move it over a little bit. We don't actually need to move it over. We can just delete this stuff. I just kind of want to show you the comparison between the two. Let's take that one. And so with this main one here, what I can do is I can just press reset and zero out. And what that'll do is that will reset it to the scene root, okay, which is the center of our project, basically. Whenever you press reset, zero out, it'll reset it back to your scene root. Okay, so we have the floor. Let's throw in a couple of walls here. We can just double click on the wall, and you can see it'll add right there. Now, one thing I recommend doing when you're constructing your scene is using the snap to model preference. So if you go up to edit, and I think it's preferences, snap to model, you can press Control M, or you can Control W to snap to the grid, but I tend to snap to the model when we're doing, put stuff together, assembling it. And I'll show you why. If I take my wall, it'll basically just snap, just like that. It'll snap right into place, which is really nice. If I go to the other side, you can see it's perfectly aligned to all of the edges. And that's just what snap to model is really good for, is snapping things right up next to each other. Okay, so we have one section of floor, one section of wall. The first thing I want to do before I create any more wall sections, since all my walls are essentially going to be the same, I'm going to just apply a material to my wall. I'm going to apply a stone material. And this comes with the PBR substance material pack here. It comes embedded with iClone, so don't worry about this. All the stuff I'm using here comes included with iClone, except for there's a couple things I'll show you later. So to find our substances, we can go up to the media tab up here. And there is a material section here. And we have a substance. We have subsurface scattering materials. We have substance materials. These ones I use for walls and floors and all that stuff. There's also the Substance PBR 200 content pack, which you can purchase separately. That's on the content store. And that contains a whole bunch of other, like, tons and tons more stuff. But for the basics here, we can just use this substance embedded stuff. I'm just going to click and drag this bricks preset directly onto the wall there. Okay, and you can see it doesn't look that good. Not best looking because the bricks are too large. Another thing you may want to do is you want to bring a character into your scene right off the bat, just so you have some sort of scale to figure out all the sizes of everything else. So if I go over here to my actor section, I'll just go into avatar. And we're just going to bring in a CC3 plus Caleb here. Okay, click and drag him in. Nothing special about him, just basically an updated version with the CC3 base plus base, as well as some little bit of updated textures on there as well. And I don't really like this guy's hair, so I'm going to delete that when it does load up. But you'll see we can compare his size to the bricks, and it's not very often you see bricks that large, so we're going to just scale them down a little bit. Okay. We'll get him out of here for now. Get out of here, you. All right, so those bricks. Let's take a look at the bricks. I'm going to go up here to the materials tab, and in materials, we're going to adjust the substance parameters of these bricks. So if you have a basic texture that you're just bringing in, then you'll only have these texture maps up here. But you can see there's a little kind of flame, a logarithmic logo in the bottom left of each channel here. And that's basically what you want to, that basically indicates that it's a substance material, which means it can be modified. It can be keyframed during your playback. So if you want, you can actually animate like these textures as you're moving along. So you can change the shape. Say if your character's on LSD or something like that, you could change the patterns on the wall. Yeah, don't do drugs, kids. Anyways, substance material. So we go down to our substance section here. Okay, and here's where we have all of the substance stuff. You can also use the M hotkey to get right down here. The first thing you can do is adjust the output size. I tend to use 1024 to start off with. You can see the details on the wall are a lot better at 1024. Between 1024 and 2048, there's not a huge amount of difference. I'm going to use 1024 at this point here. I think that's going to be good for me. There's a couple channels things you can adjust. I'm not going to worry about that. These are the channels that we're going to be adjusting. Okay, just make sure that your base color and all the other ones are selected that are up there. Below that are basic parameters such as your hue shift. You can adjust your normal intensity. You can see there, make it flatter or make it darker, deeper. Okay, ambient occlusion spreading, very subtle adjustment there. Height range, don't worry too much about that stuff. The ones that I want to take a look at here are the advanced parameters. This is where you can adjust the amount of bricks. Okay, so you can take less bricks on the left or on the x-axis. I'm going to put up to 10 and put up to 10 on the y-axis there as well. You can also choose random offset for the bricks. Bricks depth is maybe one you want to adjust. This is similar to the normal that we saw earlier. Bricks balance, we can change the colors to more like this level or more that level. I'm just going to leave it in the middle there. And I like to have this, I like this one because I can adjust the age. So I can make the age a lot, make it a little bit older. Here it looks a bit newer. If I take it to this level here, you can see we get a bit more discoloration and stuff on the bricks. And that's really all I want to do in the advanced parameters. Okay, so we can close that down. If we want to make it even smaller from here, we can do is go down to the UV settings. Let me get my zoom panel all the way there. We can go down to our UV settings here, and we can basically adjust the UV settings. I like to use plane and on the Z-axis. Basically, this will paste our material to our plane on a different way. Since it's a kind of a basic a wall, you can use the planar UV type, and you can change your tiling to like 2 and 2. Okay, and then just press apply. And you can see here, whoops, it doesn't apply correctly to our plane. We can change that to the y-axis maybe, and you can see the y-axis. That way it works. All right. Maybe I want 1.5 instead of 2. Okay, so maybe there's too many bricks there. So I can just go ahead and apply that. And there we go. Maybe even more bricks on the, or less bricks on the y-axis there. So I'll just press 1 there, and then we get a result like that. Okay, so what I recommend doing is adjusting this stuff first in your substance whatever, and then substance section, and then going to your UV settings. And then the third thing I recommend doing is basically once you're satisfied with everything, if you don't need to modify it further, then you can just bake all of these texture maps. Okay, so if I select each one and I bake it, so select bump, bake it, and I select ambient occlusion, you'll see one by one those algorithmic logos begin to disappear. And that means we just bake them into a regular texture map. So we can no longer use the stuff down here. So if we go down to substance and I try to adjust the advanced parameters, nothing's going to happen because we've already baked it. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Don't bake stuff until you're very, very sure that that's what you're going to end up with. That's what you want as the end result. Okay, so the next item of business is basically to copy this brick all the way around the room. So a very, very, very important tip to use, I use it all the time, is hold down the control key. If you hold down the control key and you click and drag on any item, it'll create a duplicate of that item. You can see it'll snap right to the other one. Okay, so now go to our scene manager here. You can see we have 2 walls. We have the first wall section here, and we have the second wall section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the second wall section to the first one. Let's go over here and make sure it's selected, obviously, and then go down to attach to and pick parent. I'm just going to pick this other one. You can pick it from the scene manager as well. Now you can see this one here is a subprop of this one. Okay, and what I want to do is I just want to make them all the same prop. So with the main wall 001 selected, I'm just going to go to merge subprop. Okay, and now they are all one single prop. However, there's one final adjustment I want to do. If I press the W hotkey, you can see that our pivot point is over here on the right. It's not in the center. So what you can do at the end is you can just go here to your pivot point section, just put something in the middle, like this middle section down here in the bottom lower center there. And once you do that, then it's basically just a matter of copying the same wall to other sections of the room as well. So I can hold Control and click and drag, and it'll copy it to this wall. Okay, and then I can hold, and here if I want to rotate, here's a good way to rotate something at a right angle. If I want this wall here now, I can put my pivot point over here in the lower left, and then I can press the E hotkey, okay, E for rotation. And if I hold Control and click on the rotation there, now it'll bring out a third wall, just like this. Okay, so I can place that third wall like this. Boom. Okay, and we're all set to go. We have walls on every side of us. If I want this third wall here, I can go up to the values here. Just make sure it's rotated at exactly 90 degrees. Excuse me. Went a little bit over 90, so let's go back to 90. And then the same thing. We can just press the W hotkey and Control, click and drag. Shazam! All right. Now we have a room. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take away this wall right here for now, since we're not going to use this wall. We're just going to make it invisible by clicking the eye icon over here, just so we can get in and take a look at stuff a little bit better. Okay, maybe I'll even take this one out as well, since we're going to focus on the wall stuff a little bit later on. Okay, so we have our walls all set up. Let's just go ahead and apply a material to our floor, a concrete material. And to do that, content, again, we can go to media here. Substance, there's a whole bunch of different ones. I'm just going to apply this one concrete 005. Okay, you can see it applies. It looks a little bit large, maybe a little bit too large. So we'll go to our materials again. Those same values down here under the substance section. We'll just change the output size to maybe 1024. Okay, maybe this one, 2048, will be a big difference. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, so that's the floor you're going to get. And this one, channels, we don't have to worry about that. Basic parameters, I'm not too worried about that either. Advanced parameters, here there's a bunch more you can adjust. So we can increase the amount of like wetness if it's wet over there on the one edge there. Okay, we can add more cracks, or we can decrease the hole scales, which are over there on the left there again. Okay, more noticeable over there. Layer balance, we can remove or add more of the actual concrete, okay, to whatever amount we want, and have more holes. Okay, I'm going to keep the holes to a minimum, just like that. And I think I'm going to be happy with that. Again, if you want, you can tile it more, 2 and 2. Oops, need to make sure we have it on the right axis there. This one's going to be the z-axis. It takes a little bit of experimenting sometimes. That looks okay. I mean, maybe it looks a little bit too uniform, so you can choose a value like 1.25 maybe, just to make it seem a bit more random, okay? I'm just going to keep this one at 1, I think. And that might be something cool that we could use, all right? We just stretched it out on one axis a little bit. Okay, anyways, it looks like an old abandoned warehouse, which is the look we're going for. Okay, the next item of business here is we're going to have our character animation. Well, first I'm going to bake this material. So make sure we have it selected and just bake all the maps up here. Just saves a little bit of resources. And if it's 2048, it takes a slight bit longer to bake. You'll notice it, just a half second longer. It's because it's a higher resolution material map, or texture map rather. Okay, so we get that all baked up. Now let's go ahead and bring in a chair for our character to sit on. As you can remember, there was sort of a police officer walking behind him, and he was getting interrogated on a chair. So, you know, if you have a lot of content, you might be familiar with the Smart Gallery. Okay, Smart Gallery is where you can find all the stuff you've purchased. It's all assigned to your account. You can simply double click on stuff to apply it to your scene. I can just go up here to my all section and just type in chair in my search field here. And it's going to show me all of the packs that I have that include chairs. You can see some of them are grayed out, which means I haven't even installed them yet. I mean, I own them, but I haven't installed them. Okay, so I'm going to use this one from this abandoned hospital. This is a really cool pack. And you can see there's my chair. So it's very easy to find stuff. You can find stuff from different content packs. I can go back to, you know, what's the other ones? Oh, I have to type in chair again here. Chair. And maybe there's one from this Western Saloon. Okay, so you can see there's some wooden chairs from the Western Saloon there. You know, maybe the abandoned hospital one is good. We can just go back to that. Again, type in chair and abandoned hospital. Let's bring this old looking chair in here. All right, they used to have pretty funky sense of style in the 70s, so maybe this is a chair from that era. Okay, and the first thing I want to do is have my character sit down on the chair. So to do that, let's select him. I'm going to move him up over here. Very easy to have your character sit in a chair. All you need to do is, with your character selected, go over here to the animation tab and use the edit motion layer tool. And this is used for frame by frame animation. What I'll do here, you can see that my feet are locked the T and the R on the ankles there stand for transform and rotation. That means they're locked for both of them. Okay. I'm going to select my hip, which is actually locked for transform, but if I move that bone itself, it will it'll move. Okay, so I'm just going to have a seat, buddy, right in the chair there. Okay, and then we'll take him back a little bit with his chest. We'll just move the chest slightly back like this, and then we have to put his arms behind his back. So to save time on this, I'm going to take my click on the shoulder, and I'm going to use the mirror function here. So mirror. I'll go ahead and use the E hotkey, and we will rotate these arms backwards. Let's see here. We want to rotate them this way. I always get mixed up with this stuff. A little bit down, a little bit back, a little bit down, a little bit back. Okay, maybe about that level right there. And then we're going to take the elbows and move those elbows inwards like this, and kind of towards each other like that. I'm going to take the hands. You can take the hands and maybe move them slightly towards each other like that. And maybe you rotate them a little bit more like this. And maybe I'm toggling between the W and E hotkeys, by the way, for rotate and movement. Very useful hotkeys to know. All right. That's looking okay. We can probably move the shoulders back a little bit. He might have to take his chest back a little bit there as well. Oops. We don't want to take that part. We want to take the chest. All right. And maybe rotate the arms a little bit more. Again, you may have to, whoops, conform to, let's put mirror on there. Conform a little bit more to the conditions that you're in. All right, I think that's going to look okay. If we want, we can also scale the chair a bit smaller, but I think that's going to be okay. And that's, if we grab the little hand part here in the edit motion layer tool, like we just click and drag it, we can close both of our hands like that or open them a bit more. So just to make it look a bit more natural, we'll curl them in slightly. Okay, again, that's by clicking on this palm area here in the reference image up top. Okay, so it looks like he's in a bad shape here. I think we're good. Maybe move his head a little bit forward since he's talking. Okay, and then we'll close down our edit motion layer tool. Okay, let's take that chair. Maybe press the R hotkey. W, E, and R are the very important hotkeys to know to scale stuff down. We'll scale a little bit this way. All right, good. I think I'm happy with this. All right, fine. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to bring in those handcuffs. And this is one of the items that I mentioned that's not included with iClone. Unfortunately, we don't provide handcuffs with the program, so you have to buy that yourself. So I'm just going to go ahead back to my main area here and just search handcuffs. And there's this pack called police uniforms and gears. Okay, and there's my handcuff eye props right there. So let's click and drag these down. And it's hard to see them right now. But let's move them up here. Let's zoom in. You can see we got some nice looking handcuffs there. And I want to place these in a relatively, an area relatively, well, right now I want to make sure I press Control M to take modeling snapping off because it's kind of just snapped on me there. So I'm going to press Control M. Again, you can also go up to Edit, Preferences, and Control M to turn that off. Very useful hotkey to know. Oops, there we go. And maybe we want to move that up a little bit. And you can, rotate the different parts of the handcuffs. There's two different sections here. I can rotate this slightly like that. Maybe rotate the other section slightly, let's say. Okay, and then we can probably just, we could go back and forth on this, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take his arms and conform them to the shape of to the position of the handcuffs there. So let's select Caleb and do some edit motion layer tool here. Let's take this arm, make sure we don't have mirror selected, and just bring it over here. There you go. And take this arm, and bring it over here. Looks good to me. All right, I think he's cuffed nice and tight. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about the edit reach target tool. This is a very important tool for things like whenever your character is using a tool like a baseball bat, or if you want your character's legs or feet to kind of attach to the pedals of a bicycle. This is a very important technique to learn. It's kind of why I want to go into it here. And so with my character selected, I'm going to select edit reach target. And it's basically because we want our hands to kind of conform to the position of the handcuffs, because the hands are never going to go outside the handcuffs. Essentially, just like you don't want your feet to go off the bicycle pedals, and you don't want your hands to leave the baseball bat. So very important, because we can utilize this with human IK, and I'll show you in just a moment here. So what we need to do here is we have a couple of reach targets. We have one for the hip, we have two for the feet, for the wrists, and also one for the chest. I'm going to use the ones for the wrist in this case. So if I select my character's left hand there, we can just go ahead and select reach effector, and this big orange ball is going to pop up. Okay, so now basically wherever I move that orange ball, my character's wrist is going to go. Okay, let's do the same thing for the other side and enable our reach effector, and you can see that creates a blue one. Okay. We can close this down and take a look at the scene manager here. We twirl down our avatar. You can see here there's a section called reach dummy underneath our character. So these are the reach dummies that I was talking about earlier, or that I just basically created. Let's go down there. You can see there's dummies for the hands and for the feet and for the hip and the chest, like I mentioned, for the neck, I mean. So what I'm going to do is select the left-hand one, which is the orange one. Press the R hotkey and just scale it down, just so we can see our hands a bit more. Okay, it doesn't matter the size, it just matters where the center is. All right, so we'll take our left hand there and scale it down. Take the right hand one, scale it down here. Cool. Now, because what's going to happen is if I take my left hand dummy, for example, and I press the W hotkey and I move it around, notice I'm not moving the character's hand, but I'm moving the dummy. And the character's wrist is actually attached to the dummy. So it'll move along with the dummy there. All right. So we can just put wherever we want. I can just also press Control-Z to return it to its original position. However, the dummies aren't attached to the handcuffs yet. And that's what we want to do. We want to attach our dummies to the handcuffs. And what I'm going to do to make this simpler is I'm going to select my handcuffs. Since we don't need to move the individual parts anymore, I'm just going to go to the handcuffs, to my parameters here, attributes. And I'm just going to go ahead and, where is it here? Merge subprop, just like we did before. So now it's one single prop. Okay. And what I'm going to do then is take my left-hand dummy, and we're going to attach it. Right now, left-hand dummy is attached to reach dummy. Don't worry about that. We're going to attach it. We're going to pick parent. We're going to pick the handcuffs. Right there. Okay, so now you can see it becomes child of the handcuffs. We'll do the same thing for the other hand. The right hand like this, parent, and we'll also pick those handcuffs. So now what we can do is if I take my handcuffs and I move them around, if I press the W hotkey, now you can see that my arms, or my hands and everything, will move according to where the handcuffs are. All right, so this, and you can see that my character's arms will react as if they have like a normal human IK. So the whole body will become affected just like this. All right, so this is very useful, and I'll show you why it's useful. Because what we can do now, and now that we have it as a prop, I can make these dummies invisible now by just clicking on them like this. What I can do with this prop is I can animate this prop using the prop animation tool. So I can go to animation, and we have a prop puppet tool that allows you to basically move the prop with your mouse. Okay, so I'm going to select the prop puppet tool, and we can just use vertical movement, horizontal movement, whatever. If I preview this, you can see I can move my arm around like this, and you know, maybe like my character's struggling in the back there. Okay, if you want, you can go into advanced here, and you can enter in values like this one, for example. If I click on this right here, right now it's only Z rotation. Okay, and if I press preview, okay, so now this is only Z rotation. If I want to combine this with a little bit of movement, maybe, let's maybe use the Z rotation of a value like 300 for example. We can also select move, and we can select maybe X and Y move. Let's maybe put a value of 20. Okay, we don't want it to move too far. So we can custom. So now he's kind of like, he's going up and down, back and forth, and rotating at the same time. Okay, if we want maybe more movement on the Z-axis, we can put like maybe 100 on there. And then if we move, you can see he'll go up and down on the Z-axis. And it just goes according to my movement. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put 20, 20, 20 on my movement. And I'm going to put 300 on the rotation. So it looks like this. And I know it may be a little bit jittery for you guys over Zoom here since we're broadcasting live. But again, we are recording this on YouTube, and we'll be sending you out links a little bit later so you can see how smooth it is and how he's kind of moving around like that. Okay, so once you're done, once you're satisfied with the preview, you're satisfied with the movement, then you can just go ahead and record. We're going to record maybe like 500 frames of this. So I'm just going to press record. I'm going to maybe he's kind of struggling. So I'm just, basically what I'm doing is I'm just moving my mouse around in random patterns. Okay, just in my character's hands are locked like that, and boom. Okay, so what we've done is we've animated the prop. Okay, we've only animated the prop. We haven't actually animated the character, but the character is kind of moving along with the prop. So now if I play back, okay, you can see he's kind of struggling like that. All right, pretty cool. So that's a good result. And then what we can do is we can emphasize that a little bit more by adding on some chest animation. Just like we have the prop puppet tool, we also have the direct puppet tool for our character. So this is like really the fast, lazy way of animating that I am very familiar with. I'm very happy with. So with the character selected, we'll go to a direct puppet here. And direct puppet, I'm just going to select my character's chest. Now, again, there's various different ways you can rotate and move your character. I'm not going to bother going through all of those since we don't have time for that. But I'm just going to select primary rotation on my character's chest bone. And if we preview, you can see, I can kind of move his chest around like this, like he's struggling. Okay. So let's just go ahead and record maybe another 500 frames of that with the chest. You can go back and forth and rotate left and right. So he's really struggling. And then press space when you're done. And then we can, layer on top of that as well. We can layer on the head. So we can go to the head of the character, and you can see we can move the head this way, that way, just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record again with primary rotation, and just with the head. Okay, so we're going to like that. He's just kind of struggling. And I mean, something like this would literally take you kind of maybe a couple hours to animate if you were doing it frame by frame. And you still can animate on top of that frame by frame, but that's a topic for another webinar. But yeah, you can see we have this very nice natural looking struggle basically, and we just animated it using 3 different methods. Okay, so that's kind of what the result that we want. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of this guy's hair since I really don't like this hair for some reason. I don't know. Just not my favorite hair. Where's my delete button? There we go. He looks more like a criminal when he's bald anyways. No offense to any bald people out there, but this guy just in particular does. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to have, we've finished his animation. We can also add some facial animation on there as well. And to do that, I'll use another quick and dirty tool, which is called the face puppet tool. So you may be noticing a trend here with the puppet stuff. So I'm going to select my character, go to animation, and then up here there's facial, and face puppet. Okay, so facial puppet tool is you can kind of basically select an animation profile. I'm going to select this Zane, for example, and I can choose an angry full face control like this one. And if I preview, you can see my characters. If I move my mouse around, my character will have an angry face, depending on where I move my mouse. And I can increase the strength of that as well to like 3. Okay, so that he'll be really severely angry. And there's all sorts of different stuff you can do with this face puppet tool. This is a whole topic that I can go into ad nauseum, but I'm just going to take it to maybe a value of 2. Okay, just to kind of keep it a little bit calm. And I'm going to make sure that we don't have head rotation on, because we already applied the head rotation with the direct puppet tool. So with I'm going to turn this head orientation off. So now if I preview, my character's head won't rotate. Okay, so we don't want that rotation to mess around with the body rotation. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and record this. Okay, so we have like 400 something frames, whatever. And now we have our character complete with human IK and facial expressions. And we did all that animation like, I don't know, 5 minutes. You know, so not bad. And you can, of course, you can tweak that. You can tweak that as much as you want using a keyframe animation. But that's just a really useful and quick and easy way to animate your character in various ways. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring in my police character. Let's take him from the folder here. And we're just going to place him right in our scene behind the character. And then we'll add in some dialogue after this. And after the dialogue, then we'll do some quick camera work and some quick lighting, and we'll be done. We'll get to the Q&A. Okay, but we have to animate this guy really quick, the police officer, or as I call him, corrupt cop in the file name here. So let's go ahead and he's just in the background there, and we're going to have him kind of walk from somewhere to the character's left to his right. Okay, so like this. And since he's walking this direction, we want him to we want to rotate him. Before we apply any walking animation, we want to rotate him this way. So I'm going to rotate like this. And I like to, I'm kind of a little OCD, so sometimes I'll just go ahead into the attributes and make sure that he is rotated 90 degrees. So you can see the rotation. As you can see, I was a little bit off. Whoops. That'll be a 90, Roger. Minus 90. That way. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to apply an animation to this character. And this is all. This animation is also from a paid content pack. Now you don't have to use this animation. You can use a whole bunch of other walking animations. I just like this one because it's a little bit slow. And I'm going to go to my smart gallery here, and we're going to go to, it's called City Life. This content pack. Oh, let me make sure we go back to all. Go to City. You can even just type City Life, I think. Should be, yeah, this one right here. Okay. So the City Life has a whole bunch of animations in it. And the first animation I want to select is called a walk. So again, we can filter one more time. Let's just type in walk. And there is a walk wander, this one right here, RL motion. So I'm just going to apply that to my character there. Okay. You can see while he's struggling, he's just going to walk behind him like this. Dun, 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 like that. He'll stop there. And then what we want to do here is, it's getting a little bit dark here. Want him to kind of turn around slightly and face my the criminal dude. So to do that, we're going to have another animation called chat stand. Okay, so I can probably type in stand. You can see the chat stand right there, and I'll just simply apply it to my character. Okay, now let's take a little look at combining motion clips here. So if I press F3 and go into my timeline, you can see here that with my character, there's two motion clips. This first one here is the walk wander. Okay, so he'll walk over here like this, and then this one right here. But notice what happens between these two is if I play back in real time, he'll pause and then kind of just, his right foot will like slide backwards, which I don't like, okay? Because you want to avoid that foot sliding. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to move this clip a little bit closer, and we're going to click and drag on this transition area. We're going to make it a lot longer since he was walking fairly slow. Okay, now that I'm just testing for the speed right now, and the speed looks okay for that transition between the two. Okay, looks like a natural transition. But again, if I zoom in, especially on his feet, foot sliding is always a problem that animators have to deal with. So you can see watch particularly his right foot will slide like that. So he'll take the step. He'll start sliding basically right here. So what I want to do, let's make that a little bit slower, a little bit faster there. What I want to do is here, I'm going to create as soon as he lands his right foot there, so his right heel is landed, that's where we want to bring all the rest of the weight to that point right there. So we don't want that right heel to slide back like that. Okay, you can see it's sliding back slightly, ever so slightly. I mean, you could definitely get away with it, but I'm going to show you a way to fix it really easily. All you got to do here is double click on your transform track, create a keyframe, and make sure that keyframe is at the very beginning of the transition area. So right here, okay? The very first frame of that transition area. To zoom in on your timeline, you can hold the Alt key and scroll your mouse wheel up and down, by the way. So Alt and scroll up and down like this. Okay, so from here to here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to move my character a little bit forward to about this position. Now, I'm just going to eyeball it really here, okay? Since it slides back only so slightly right there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to press the W hotkey and move my entire character forward to about that position, because I think that's about how far he slid. So if we double check it, so here, watch his right foot, his right foot, his right foot. Good, doesn't slide, okay? Maybe a little bit at the end. So we can maybe move him a little bit further forward. Okay, just like that. And then we have him take a step, and there we go. That's better, okay? So now his right foot isn't sliding, it's staying planted as he moves, as he takes his last step. So if we play back now, let's take a look at it. Okay, good. Now, one final thing I want to do with this character before we have the dialogue is I want to have him look at my criminal character. So as he's walking behind him, we can use the look at feature, which is really useful. We can go over here to the under the attributes here. There's a feature called look at, and I'm going to select pick target right here. And we're just going to pick this guy's head. All right, you can see it's like CC base head. Now you can choose how much, if you want the weight to be more on the head or more on the eyes. In this case, we're going to have like maybe 80% head, since he's looking at, he's wearing shades. So now the problem here is as he moves past our character, it looks a little bit weird because he's not an owl, and his eyes are looking way too back, or his neck is twisted way too far backwards. Okay, so what we want to do here is, what you can do is you can just go ahead and you can set free if you want to remove that. Again, let's pick target one more time. Select our character's head, and then as he moves along here, so about at this point here, maybe we want him to stop looking because it's getting a little too weird. So we'll go ahead and press set free right here. And what's going to happen is from here to here, he's still going to be looking at the character. And if I press F3 and go into my timeline, let's close down everything else except for this one track called Constraint. Constraint is basically your character's constraints. You can see there's a look at constraint right here. Okay. And there's a line throughout that entire track all the way up until this point here. Okay. And up here, then he stops. Okay. There's a transition from here to here. He's still looking at him, still looking at him, still looking at him. And then here, he stops looking at him. Okay. So there's that blend. And you can see right here, this gets disabled as we move along the timeline there. Okay. And we could have another look at right here. Pick target right there. Eye weight, and then finally right here, so maybe he's now here, he's going back to normal, and then here is a little bit, but he's just looking with his eyes. Okay. And so it's not too bad, not as bad as it was before. And then here, maybe we'll just set free again, depending on where he is in the scene. If I can figure it out here. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the dialogue and the cameras and then do some quick lighting. So let's go ahead and do the dialogue first. So here's our character. The first character is going to be struggling, and the easiest way to do that, super simple. Just go to your motions, animations here, and we're going to create a script. This character, I'm going to use a audio file, which I have prepared already. It is in this complete workflow folder. So this is struggling. And apologies for my terrible voice acting. So here he is. Okay, so he's like struggling. And then the officer up here is like, he basically stops right here. And then he's going to say like, where's the money, Lebowski? May have guessed which movie I got that from, but let's throw in that anyways. Again, same thing with this character selected, create script. Maybe a little bit earlier, before he stops. Create script. Okay, and then audio file. We're going to use that we know. Okay, and so here you're just going to.
We know you have the money, Lebowski, and you're going to tell us one way or the other.
So then after he's done that,
one way or
I'm just going to leave with the automatic lip sync. I'm not going to go into lip sync right now. There's the automatic lip sync is pretty good, and it's about to get a lot better even in the near future here. So if you have any questions about that, I can answer them in the Q&A. But after he's finished, then we have dude over here, create script, audio file again. I already told you. Okay.
I already told you. I don't know where the money is.
So when he says this, we wanted to kind of look at the guy he's talking to, not looking directly forward. So what I'm going to do here is use the same look at feature. So look at, and we'll pick target and pick the officer here. You can see his neck is way too stretched. So again, what we'll do is change that more to the eyes. Okay. And what I want to do here is also click here, and so you can see we need to create another keyframe here for the look at. So let's go ahead and pick target, pick the head, and I'm going to select set free. And what that'll do is that'll create a target. So our transition will happen from here to here. Okay. So it's just kind of the way that you have to do it. You have to click pick target and then set free again to create a keyframe in the look at constraint track. Okay. So you'll see his head will slowly turn from here to here. And again, here we want to change the look at weight to more like the eye. Again, if you look at his face, his eyes are maybe looking a little too much onto the eyes. So maybe you want to do something like this. And again, that may not be the ideal situation. You may have to like manually adjust the eyes in this case. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just, since he's kind of too far behind the character, I'm just going to do a manual turn. So I'm going to delete these constraints here. So what I'll do is I'll just use my edit motion layer tool here. We can delete this keyframe as well. I'm just going to use my edit motion layer tool, select my character's head, press the E hotkey, and just rotate it ever so slightly. And what that's going to do is that's going to create, if I go into my motion track, that's going to create a keyframe for my character's motion layer for the head. Okay, right here. And then to here. As he starts talking, we'll just kind of rotate his head this way. Okay, and that'll create more keyframes there. And if we want, we can, right-click on and select like transition curve presets. I'm just going to use a smooth. Again, sorry, I'm kind of going through this a little fast, but you can always ask me questions later.
I already told you. I don't know.
Also, sometimes when he's like, when your character is talking, his head is so still like this, it looks a little bit strange. So what I can do is I can overlap this again with my direct puppet tool in the face and the head rotation, and just maybe you can see. We don't want that. We want rotation, not movement.
I already told you. I don't know where the money is.
Okay, so just kind of give him a little bit more expression. So record.
I already told you. I don't know where the money is. Just let me go.
Okay. And that just kind of extends our motion clip over here. And we have a nice smooth transition here.
I already told you, I don't know where the money is. Just let me go.
Okay, cool. Last things we're going to do here is our camera work and our lighting. So we have a good 10 minutes to do that. So it's more than enough time. So let's go ahead and create our first camera. And I'm going to go up here to create and create camera. And you can see now our camera is selected up here. We can choose between preview, switch, and camera. What I'm going to do is just have this camera face my my character basically head on at about this level right here, because we just want to see briefly the officer walking in the background, maybe a little bit down. Okay, now one thing I want to make sure I have with this camera is depth of field. So I'm going to use my the background here as a reference, the blocks in the background, they're the bricks rather. And I'm going to go to my camera attributes. Okay, if we go over to our scene manager, make sure we have the camera selected. And I'm going to activate depth of field, just like that. So I'm going to pick target and pick my character's head. Okay. Now you can see the background is sort of blurred out there, and our character is in focus in the foreground. Now, what I want to do here is we can adjust the near blur strength like this. This basically allows us to have the focus closer to our character, closer to the target, or further away from the target. I want to make this fairly strong because I want the officer in the background to be blurred as well. Okay, so I'm just go ahead and do this. And we can use bokeh as well. Don't worry about all that stuff though. But you can see here now, we have our officer walking behind. He's not really as blurred out as I'd want him to be. So what I can do here is I'll just maybe change this a little bit more. You can see the officer will sort of blur out a little bit at maximum value there. So maybe like 1.8. Near transition range, we can decrease that as well. So we take that to a value like this. We don't want him to be too out of focus, but maybe just slightly out of focus. Like maybe this is too much. We still do want him to be noticeable, but just slightly blurred. So something like this would work well, I think. Or he's just barely, yeah, something like this I think would be okay. Okay, and you can see because these parameters here are in green text, what I need to do is press F3 and go into my timeline. And we need to go to our DOF section here. And you can see that there's a DOF keyframe that appears right here. And we want this to be the entire duration of the project. So we're going to take this and take it all the way back to the beginning. Okay. Okay, good enough for me. Now the second camera we're going to have the second camera placed behind the officer when he's talking to the dude. Okay, so where is that?
Husky.
Well, about this point here. So we're going to create another camera. And we can call this, that's fine. We don't have to name the camera really. This camera is going to be at this position back here. And you can see right now, we want to have a view like maybe something like this. So you can see both heads in the camera. This is going to be our only camera angle. I think something like this will be fine. But you can see maybe we think that it seems like the camera is a little bit, the characters seem too far apart. So what I can do to kind of decrease the distance between those characters is go to my modify tab here and just change the focal length of my camera to something a bit higher, like a 105, for example, over here. And what that'll do is that'll make it appear that, you know, like the characters are closer together just because of the higher lens here, focal length. You can do that manually as well, just like this. Okay, I'll use a value maybe like this. I think should be fine. Zoom out a little bit. This will be okay. And then again, I'm doing this all at frame, what is it, frame 417 here. So what I always do, unless I want to transition this camera or move it or, you know, adjust it in some way, I just make sure that everything, if I go to like lens and DOF, is at frame 1. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's also use the depth of field. We have the depth of field set already here. Make sure that this is set to the correct pick target here. Okay, focus distance, less focus distance. Okay, and then just take all these keyframes. Again, control selecting those and move them to frame 1. So
we know you have the money, Lebowski, and you're going to tell us one way or the other.
okay, so here I want to have a depth of field transition between one character and the next. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to double click in my DOF track and create a keyframe. And from here to here, we're going to transition that depth of field. So now I'm going to pick target and pick my other dude. And we're going to have him in focus. We're going to get our opposite way out of focus there, like about 404. Okay, so if that means from this keyframe to this keyframe, you can see the depth of field transitions from the officer
I already told you
over to my other character. Okay, sorry about sorry for the slow motion speech there. Okay, but that's basically it. We have our camera set up and everything, so let's go ahead and I'm going to go now to camera switch really quickly. Press F3 and go into the timeline. And for camera switch, we need to make sure we have our project tracks open. And we're going to use switcher. So switcher, we just basically double click in the first frame, or right click rather. Go to camera list. We use camera 1. Okay. Didn't quite get to frame 1 there. Okay, so camera 1, press playback, press play.
We know.
Okay, so about here, where the playback head is right now, this is where we want to switch cameras. So I'm going to right click camera list and go to camera 0. Okay, so now we have the two cameras switching between each other. If we play back.
We know you have the money, Lebowski, and you're going to tell us one way or the other.
Okay, so we have that cool transition from one scene to the next. All right, last thing here we're going to do is lighting really quick. So we have a few more minutes to do that. It's going to be real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start from scratch with the lighting. So I'm going to take my lights here and delete all these lights that we have in our scene. Bang, bang, bang. And you're probably like, hey, why is there still light? That's because there's this pesky little thing, not pesky, it's a useful little thing called image-based lighting. So to find that, we'll go to our visual tab over here. And at the very bottom, we have this thing called Activate IBL. I can take that down to a very low level if I want, or I can simply just deactivate it and everything will be pitch black. Okay, you may want to start with this, but if you have no IBL, then you want to go ahead and use this auxiliary light button up here. And this is basically like no lighting information. It just lights everything evenly in your scene. I use this all the time. We're going to create a couple of lights. The first light is going to be a spotlight. So go to Create, Light, and Spotlight. And this is going to be directly over our character. So what I can do is I can actually align this light to my character by using this tool up here. You can also press Control L. Let's just align it to our character's head, the Y and X axis. Okay, not the Z, because the Z will take it down there, right? You can see it up here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just adjust the rotation of this light to 0. So what's going to happen now is if we go back out of aux mode here, suddenly we have this spotlight facing directly down on our character's head. Cool. All right. And we can adjust the values of that light if we want. We can make our shadows a bit stronger, a bit darker. Okay, so now it looks pretty ominous. Maybe a little bit too much. Take our bias to maybe -1. Okay, makes your shadows a bit more accurate. And you can adjust your global darkness multiplier to adjust the darkness of the entire thing. Another thing I can do is make sure my spotlight is selected. And the spotlight itself has individual shadow levels as well. Okay, so because I already made, and I can also increase the multiplier to make the light harsher on my character. Okay, good enough. The next thing I want to do, let's go back into Oxlight here. Actually, we don't need to go back into Oxlight. Let's create our next light, create light. And this time we're going to create a point light. Now a point light does not cast shadows. All right, that's the advantage of the point light. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure we take that light and bring it behind the wall, because it's kind of a little trick you can use. Press the W hotkey and you can bring it behind the wall. And notice that it still lights up the wall, even though it's behind the wall. And you can use this as like a cheater kind of for like ambient sort of light. I do it often for, you can adjust the multiplier down a little bit. Value like this, and that's fine. And let's go to our content manager here, or rather our visual tab, and global illumination at the top here, or over here. Make sure that's enabled. And I'm going to just make my lights invisible because that stuff is annoying. So once we have global illumination active, we can adjust the bounce strength. And that basically increases or decreases the amount of bouncing in your scene. If you disable global illumination, everything will be a lot darker. Okay, and we'll just make a little bit of global illumination. Ambient strength, we can increase that or decrease that. It's not going to have much of an effect right now. Specular bounce strength. This will only be for a certain type of texture map. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. So let's take a look at what our preview looks like now if we switch.
We know you have the money, Lebowski, and you're going to tell us one way or the other.
Okay, so one thing this could really use is behind the police officer's head, we'd have a light, just so he's lit from the other side as well. So what I would probably do for that, honestly, just because we're a little short in time, I'll just take my spotlight there, and I'm going to just hold Control and click and drag it, and create another spotlight over here, and that'll be on our officer's face. Okay, let's go ahead and preview to where he's finally standing. So he's finally standing over here, and if we go to if we press the F8 hotkey, we can go to our mini viewport and change it to camera 2. So now we can see where our officer's face is and everything. And what I'm going to do is just take my spotlight position and move it over here. So you can see it's lighting his head just like that. And that's fine. And again, what I want to do here then is press F3 with my light selected there, spotlight 01, and just take that all the way back to frame 1. Okay, so it'll remain at that spot for the entire duration. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. And I'll go ahead and play it back, and then I'll answer some questions for you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and go to switcher, play it back.
We know you have the money, Lebowski, and you're going to tell us one way or the other.
I already told you I don't know where the money is. Just let me go.
Okay, and probably we want to have those the walls visible in the background as well, so something like that. And we'd probably want to light up those back walls ideally as well, but you kind of get the point. Those are just the learning things I wanted to show, learning points I wanted to show you guys today. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the Q&A. We have about half an hour here, so I'm going to go ahead and answer your questions. And if I'm not able to get to your questions today, then we'll just you can always email me as well. Okay. Next question, our first question here is from Corey. When working with a non-human character, is there a way to adjust keyframes on individual bones? I'm working on a cat, but I can't seem to sample individual parts. Yeah, there's definitely a way to do that. Essentially what you do is with your character selected, there is the edit motion layer tool, and you can go into bone edit mode. So bone edit mode right here. Yeah, so if you select bone edit mode, it'll essentially be, we have to go to a non-human character, I guess. Let's just get our switch mode here. Yeah, there's the same tool over there for all those types of characters as well. Where am I here? Oh, I took my walls out, right? Let's bring in a non-human character. Very easy. I guess it's the horse. We're gonna have a magical white horse flying through our scene. So again, over here, edit motion layer tool. So it's, you know, it's obviously not as optimized as the human characters or standard characters, but you can just go to bone edit mode, and you'll be able to see all the bones on your horse there. So you can press the E hotkey and rotate it. This one right here, rotate it again. Pretty straightforward, but that's where you can find all this stuff. And this is the hip here. So the hip bone is the main bone, obviously. So just be aware of that. But that's where you can animate the non-human character's bone structure. All right, let's get to the next one here. Anonymous attendee asks, is Light Studio only for V-Ray renders? No, not really. I'll go to the product page really quickly here. Let's just type in Light Studio, I don't know, Reallusion. That should pop something up. There we go. I mean, you can use it with iRay. It's meant to be used with iRay optimally, but you can also use it in various other ways as well. And again, it's mainly used for the settings. The stuff that I showed you earlier, you can use that with anything for sure. It's not only with iRay. It can be used really nicely with other stuff as well. Like if I brought a wall into the current scene. But if you are, you know, rendering with iRay, then there is some stuff here like these light patterns and the sun and sky light presets that you definitely want to check these out. Okay. But again, at this point, our built-in rendering is, you know, with the digital human shader and stuff is, obviously it's not as good as iRay for photorealism, but for character looks and stuff, it's, you know, with the right lighting, you can get it fairly close, to be honest with you. It all depends if you're looking for more just posing modeling or for animation modeling, because Light Studio won't be the best for animation, obviously. All right, next question. Leon asks, can I see what it looks like in the timeline, the 3 layers of animation? Yeah, I think you might be talking about that character that I did at the beginning there. Let's go ahead and minimize this and get Mr. Horsey out of the way here. So you're probably wondering, like, you know, where do these tools show up in the timeline when I use them? So if I press F3 and go into my timeline here, with let's just make sure we focus on Caleb here. So the first one is a puppet tool. So this is a puppet clip. This right here, I'm just going to make the talking, mute the talking for now. So this puppet clip right here, this is the combination. So basically, when you do direct puppet, so I did the chest and the head. If you can recall, I did both the chest and the head. If I do it again, what's going to happen is it'll just kind of blend into this clip right here, and it'll kind of overwrite. It'll blend into the previous capture. So if, for example, I want to make his head a bit more rotating, I can go like do this, and let's go ahead and whoa, like you're doing some funky like head movement stuff. Okay, and what that'll do is that'll just create that that head movement right there into that puppet clip. Okay, so it just basically combines everything together. I'm going to undo that there. And because it's connected with this puppet clip, it'll take care of that puppet clip too. We just basically have to make sure that this one's over here and not affected by the other one. Because puppet clips, if they're combined together, it'll just combine into one single clip. All right, so just be aware of that. I'm going to Control-Z that there. So yeah, those are basically all just puppet clips. And this is the puppet clip that I had at the end with his head moving as well. So you can see this created a different puppet clip. But just be aware that if you have one puppet clip, if you're layering over a puppet clip that's shorter than the first one, then it's going to cut off the end of that longer one. Okay, so puppet clips can be a little bit picky like that. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Oops. Where am I here? Oh, there we go. Okay, so Leon asked a good question. Were the blinks already animated automatically when he was moving the head around? Yes, the blinks are, with our characters, the blinks are automatically animated. And if you select your character, you can see, where is the blink stuff again? It's here somewhere. There's like an auto blink. Maybe it's in the animation section. I haven't messed around with auto blink for a while. It should be here, is it? Maybe it's in preferences. There's a thing for auto blink anyways. Yeah, maybe preferences. Oh, of course, my preferences showed up over there. Great. It may have been taken out. Yeah, maybe it's just automatically in there. Not project settings, right? Yeah, maybe someone else remembers where it is, but there is an auto blink somewhere here. Yeah. Thomas mentioned I had it in the first view already. Was that in the preferences, or because I totally forget where it is? I've never really messed around with the top of the modified panel. That's where I thought it was, but maybe I just flew by it. Foot contact, hand contact, mesh. Did I go too fast? Maybe it's different for CC base 3, CC base 3, or CC3 base plus. And I don't know what to tell you guys. It's somewhere up there. Yeah, maybe it used to be at the top of the modified panel. I know for sure, but oh, auto blink. Oh man, I'm so dumb. It's right here. Holy smokes! All right, yeah. Some people are just blind. I think my contact lenses are getting a little bit blurry right now, so I didn't see the auto. All right, so the auto blink you can set to whatever you want. Child, charming, speechless. I knew we had it. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's go to the next question then. Thanks, guys, for helping me out with that. Sean mentions, is there any difference between iClone 7's global illumination and lighting capabilities in Unreal Engine? Yeah, definitely a lot. Well, I mean, there's different shaders technically, right? So the lighting is built differently. There's a lot of differences. I don't really have time to go into it all right now, but yeah, there's a number of big differences. Right now, I would say Unreal's lighting is probably has a bit of an edge on ours, particularly their global illumination. So if you're looking for like a super high level production quality, Unreal does I mean, they do some film stuff, some AAA film stuff in Unreal now. So their lighting and their shaders and everything like that are really optimized. And you can always take advantage of that with Unreal Live Link as well, iClone's Unreal Live Link. Another question from Sean, are there any workflows that allow rendering to be offloaded onto an alternate computer? I get asked that question pretty often. Unfortunately, we don't have that yet, Sean, but we are looking towards that in the future. Yeah, multi-system rendering right now is not an option at the moment, but that is going to be integrated in the near future. Leon asks, does it do lip sync automatically? Yeah, absolutely. All the lip sync is automatic. And you can achieve the lip sync with your voice. You can do text to speech, or you can bring in a script as well. And you can also do facial motion capture, but that's a whole nother can of worms. So Zola asks, in the demo, the cop's feet look good close up. Where can I get ground, dirt, rocky ground, or whatever that looks good for close-ups of feet walking? So Zola, when you want your character to be walking on uneven terrain, you want to make sure that you have foot contact selected. Okay, just like this. And that way, if I take my character and I decide to move him up and down like this, you can see his foot. Well, actually, we don't even have if I took the foot locking off and I moved it down like this, you can see even with the foot locking off, as soon as his feet touch the ground, they will just have that automatic IK result. And whether or not your ground is flat or uneven, it's going to have the same result according to the mesh of your ground. So if you have a kind of a ground that's angled or whatever, then it's going to adjust to that ground as well. Okay, so that's all about foot contact. Sean asks, is there a way to import camera tracking information to be applied in iClone 7? Right now, we currently only have camera export, unfortunately, but we are looking at camera import as well. But camera export is definitely an option, but unfortunately not camera import at the moment, Sean. So sorry about that. So Adam asked the question here. Sometimes when importing simple FBX objects, I get an option to either group objects as one or combine them. However, when trying to bring them over in larger sets, I don't get the prompt and everything gets grouped. Yeah, this has something to do with I think it's like a 32-bit versus 64-bit issue with 3D Exchange. I've spoken with the development team about this, and that's going to be adjusted in the future. Yeah, with the grouping, there is certain limits to it, and I forget the amount of limits to the objects you can bring in. But yeah, I know for sure it has to do with the 32 versus 64-bit availability of 3D Exchange, and with the next iteration, it's all going to be 64-bit, so we won't have that problem any longer. But that's going to be next year sometime, maybe mid next year or late next year. So apologies for that being unavailable at the moment. Next question from Adam here is, so I understand that iClone works with 60 frames per second. Is there any workflows when working with a backplate and matching tracked FBX camera at a frame like 24 frames per second? We are working on that right now, but unfortunately at this point, I think it's still not available. That is supposed to be available sooner rather than later, the 24 frames per second, because we have a lot of people demanding that. And that's going to be one of the most immediate features that's coming up soon. I think that might be even Q4 of this year, but don't quote me on that. But we are aware of that issue, and we've had a lot of users ask for that compatibility, but unfortunately, we're still in the process of getting that developed. Okay, so Sean asks, will there be Mac support for iClone 7 or perhaps iClone 8? At this point, there's no plans for that, unfortunately. I know we've had everyone saying like, hey, bring us a Mac version, but at this point, the issue with us is that the program is so far advanced now that porting it over to the Mac would require a huge amount of work. And basically what's happening is that the industry is moving so fast. You know, we're with our small team, we're kind of struggling to even, come up with the new developments that we're coming out with, and to port it onto Mac would take another huge development team. So I'm not sure if that's in the cards in the near future. I've heard not yet. So apologies for that. Michael asks, great, is there a good way to control the individual Viseme audio level? The best way to do that is just through your post-production, unfortunately, Michael. The audio stuff, there's not really too many audio controls in iClone, unfortunately. So it's either you have all the audio silent or none of the audio silent. It's about just getting your audio clips to the right level before you bring it into iClone or after, I guess. Okay, question from Bobby. Yeah, feel free to email me, guys. Any of your questions you have, kai@reallusion.com. That's me, K-A-I, those of you who don't, not aware. All right, so let's go to the next question here. Robert asks, are you ever going to put an illustrated tutorial physical book on iClone or their software? We don't have plans to do that. I mean, I could probably publish one myself if I could make a little bit of cash off it, I guess. I don't know, but that would be pretty hard to do. Well, it would be an undertaking. It wouldn't be that hard, but yeah, there's no plans for Reallusion to do that right now, Robert. Okay, just a reminder, guys, put the questions in the chat window or in the QA window. Question from Titania. Do you plan on having different human-like voices for the text-to-speech in the near future? That is being developed. That is being developed right now, along with the improved lip syncing. So we're going to have some improvements in that area. So stay tuned for that. That'll definitely be Q4, December at the latest. Okay, next question from Corey. in the motion layer in the timeline, I see you're able to view keyframes on the torso, head, etc. But you're not able to see those bones on non-humans. Is there a way to see the keyframes on individual bone layers on the timeline for non-human characters? Oh, I mean, if you couldn't find it, I guess not. I mean, the last time I animated a non-human character was, I don't know, man. Maybe when this horse came out. I don't deal with non-human characters too often, but let's try and find something out here. Arabian horse. Well, it'll be under motion. No, it'll just it seems as though it'll only have the one track for the keyframes, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't see where else they would be. Spring material, nope, nowhere else there. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like they only have that one track, or unless maybe I did a different bone. No, that remains the way it is, I guess. Okay, yeah, only one motion layer track for all the bones, looks like. Maybe we'll get that fixed in the future. Apologies for that. Okay, so question from William here. Having a character follow a camera follow a character quickly. To have a camera follow a character, pretty basic stuff. Let's have a camera follow this police officer here. What I do is I just normally attach it to the scene root. There's also a new plugin that was recently launched that I would recommend. It's probably better than this. But if you have the camera, you want to follow a character, I just attach it to the character's root. So you can just select the character. It doesn't matter what it selects. Just go attach to and then change from here to the root, bone root. And don't inherit the rotate. Just this way should be okay. Align to none, it's fine. That's really the best way to have it follow your character. You can see it doesn't bounce, okay? So with all those options there, yeah, just no rotation, just inherit the movement. Don't align to position, don't do rotation and all that stuff, just attach to the bone root. That's the best way. But there's also a really good plugin, Python plugin in the content store. I'm not sure where it is, but maybe I could take a look at that and find out where it is. It's called Camera Follow. Maybe if I search for it, let's see how good our search engine is here. Oh, maybe it's too good. Oh, do they have that stuff right now in the maybe it's only in the marketplace now. Yeah, plugin. Yeah, here you go. Smooth Camera Follow 2.0. This one right here. It's not in the content store. This is just a Python plugin that we've created. This is a really good one to use as well, and it's free. So you can see there's zero DA points here. So you can select this one. I'll copy this address to the chat window for you there. Oops. All right. Mark asks, do you see something about a new lip sync? Yes, we are currently in beta for a new lip sync. Okay, it's going to be a lot more accurate, involves a lot more muscles in the face and everything. Yeah, you can learn more about that in the forums. Actually, I think there's more forum stuff in there for the lip sync. But yeah, it is in the under work right now. Next question is from Morris. I have an RTX 2080, a 12-core AMD 3900. Are there docs for using those in a render? Not specifically, Morris, but the help files will be where you'll find help stuff for rendering. Again, just help online manual here, and also press F1 and rendering stuff at the bottom here. Yeah, all the information should be there for you. I'm not sure if it applies to your particular cards, but yeah, I can't really give you any technical information on those, either one of those. So Frank asks, can you have all your characters and motions against a green screen background? Yeah, absolutely. Just basically create a green background in your scene, and you're good to go. Just like I created that wall, you can do the same thing, but just make it green. And the way I would do that is, if I created a wall here, I'll do that really quickly for you. The easiest way to do it is just bring in a wall in front of our horse, and then go over here to materials and your base color. You can either just change your diffuse color right here to green, like that. Okay, you'll see it'll be green. Again, you need to worry about lighting as well, though, in that case. You can also go up here and change your base color and use the adjust color here to change it to brightness. Change the brightness, the hue. Okay, but again, that diffuse color down there is going to be the more powerful one. That's just two ways you can do it. Okay, next question is from Ethan. Is there a method of animating clothing on a character in the program? Yeah, there's physics animation. That goes into a lot of detail. But I can definitely email you more about physics, because it just takes a little bit of time to set up. But that's the only way to animate clothing really on your characters. Okay, another question from Zola. So the ground tends to look a little bit bad close up when I want a close up shot. So if the Zola, if the ground looks a little bit sketchy when you're close up on it, the ways you can improve it are, again, just like I showed earlier, increase the output size to 2048 by 2048. That's the first thing you want to do. The second thing you want to do is maybe you can tile it more. If you tile stuff more higher, then of course it's going to have a higher resolution for your texture. But I know there's a lot of stuff for Unreal because I've been using Unreal recently. A lot of good stuff for Unreal for like Quixel, for creating your terrains and stuff. But for iClone, we don't really have a lot yet. Hopefully that's something we can improve in the future. Yeah, check out Quixel with Unreal, though. It's awesome. Next question is from Crispin. I'm struggling to edit an OBJ suit I have imported as an accessory. I get the message the textures on this object are flattened images. It says the current textures will be discarded. What does this mean, and how do I deal with it? Crispin, I'd recommend giving me a shout via email on that one, because I need to take a look at maybe the objects that you're actually using, the OBJ files that you're actually using, and see if I can recreate the problem. So can't really do it right here since I don't have the files and everything. So that's something that would need a little bit of troubleshooting. Yeah, Douglas asks, is there a way to simulate the cloth rubbing against the chair? Yeah, that's using soft cloth physics. There's a lot of tutorials I would recommend checking out, guys, on physics. Soft cloth, oops, let's just go to iClone. It's just faster Googling it than going through the site. Learn tutorials over here, our learning center. Tons of videos on physics and everything there as well. Not sure where the physics ones specifically are, but they'll be in here somewhere. Professional animation, probably. Possibly not. Or you can just like Google, YouTube, iClone physics. It takes a couple seconds, and then maybe iClone soft cloth physics. This again, these are pretty old, but there's the technique and everything still stands. Yeah, maybe I would recommend. Again, this is basically 5 years old now. Holy smokes! But all right, put that in the chat window there for you. Zola asks, is pipeline and export licenses required to export to Blender? To export your characters to Blender, you only need the pipeline version of Character Creator 3, which is pretty cheap, like $199. To export the animations and everything, then you need 3D Exchange pipeline. So that's a little bit more. That's like, I think, $299 or something like that. But yeah, you can export to FBX from Character Creator 3 to just with pipeline. Basically, anything pipeline means you want to export it to other software, and export licenses you need to export to other software too. But not really for if you're creating your own stuff, you don't have to worry about that. All right, so Mars is, I guess, is not really using a lot of your CPU or GPU, so that's awesome. Again, if more technical details on that, I can probably email you and discuss. Anonymous attendee, is there an easy workflow for bringing iClone characters into After Effects through Element 3D? Not an easy workflow really, but we do have an After Effects plugin for Cartoon Animator 4 that I would recommend checking out. It allows you to take your characters and your scene and everything directly into Cartoon Animator. So like, let's see there for After Effects. Here you go. I'll just throw this in the chat window for you there. Where's the chat window? Here it is. Okay. If that works there for you, Mr. Anonymous or Mrs. Anonymous or Miss Anonymous. All right, guys, I'm going to take a couple more questions and I'm going to close the webinar here. Any further questions can go to the email. William asks a question here about the plugin, installing the plugin to iClone. I can't really talk about that right now since I actually haven't installed that myself. But if you email me, William, there, I'll definitely help you out with installing that. Okay, question from Robert here. I bring an animated sewing machine into iClone and teaches my classes. If you're bringing your characters into iClone, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to take a close look at your project there, Robert. That's what kind of stuff you're doing. So feel free to email me again, kai@reallusion.com, and I'll take a look because it's not really super clear to me at this point. But, hopefully I can help with that via email. Crispin asking, will the new lip sync be able to handle singing? Yes, the new lip syncing is improved in virtually every way. It's really good, and it's also better results with mocap as well. So you'll be able to you'll see some recommend staying tuned to our YouTube channel because we'll have some videos on that in the near future here as well. I think the launch date is set for December, so it shouldn't be too much longer, and it's still in beta. It might even be sooner than that. So, all right, I think I'm gonna end off the webinar then, there, guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending today. Really happy to have you all here, and hopefully you learned a lot. And again, always feel free to email me, kai@reallusion.com, and make sure you fill our survey there via email and get the 10% discount for the content store. All right, so thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you in the next webinar.